Hi, I'm Pete Snyders.
I'm Ethan Puttycombe.
And I'm Evandri Van Zyl, and collectively we form Project Team 3, responsible for creating the Paris or Perish target shooting game for embedded microcontrollers this term. With the objective of the term project being to flawlessly integrate and program numerous electronic components to demonstrate an authentic implementation of an embedded system, the following project aims and goals were developed around the conceptual idea of an interactive arcade-style target shooting game. Firstly, it was aimed to mimic and draw ideas from the current devices within the market. Next, it was designed to, unlike the common duck shooting game, have two sets of targets, in this case a mime or a robber, as seen distinguishable by their red eyes. The type of target shot by the player dictates whether the player accumulates or decreases their score. We also wanted to demonstrate that the project could be profitable with further development. As such, the game was to be activated only upon payment by the player. The final product also required to be interactive in the sense that the targets flipped when shot and the player's score is displayed. Additionally, aesthetics such as lights and buzzers were to be added to improve the player experience. Furthermore, diagnostic data regarding the prototype is to be sent via serial communication to the developers to track and improve the design in future.
As clearly shown, there are very heavy influences for the design from both carnival shooting games of the early 20th century as well as arcade machines of the mid to late 20th century. Now, these carnival shooting games both used a combination of physical projectiles, such as air-powered rifles used to shoot down ducks, and as seen here, there were also advancement in using ray guns, using light and lasers and whatnot in order to trigger them. The arcade machines used from the late 20th century were also a clear inspiration due to their electronic nature and formed the core concept of the idea.
Before settling on the final design, there were two initial concept ideas. The first was a more traditional conveyor belt game with ducks on that would have to be shot down using physical objects. This was decided to not be the final candidate, as it did not use enough modern technology. The second idea was targets that would flip up and down on a rotating disc. However, this one was also taken down as all the components on the targets while rotating would be too much for the motor to handle. As such, the next design was chosen.
The final design of the prototype, developed by the team based on its practicality and achievability within the project timeframe, is visualized using the 3D model shown. The design boasts stationary targets on a non-rotating disc, which house all of the sensors and actuators required throughout the game itself. In this case, light sensors are used to detect if a target is shot, with the laser light, whereafter the servo motors flip the target. A rotary target blocker is implemented to increase the difficulty of the two possible games to be selected by the player. This design also includes a weight-based coin slot for the player to pay before being allowed to play a new game. Furthermore, a temperature sensor is also used to monitor the health of the motor driving the blocker, ensuring that there is no overheating. The final design would also require the implementation of two microcontrollers, and thus communication between the two boards would be necessary. The final construction of the design will now be explained.
Shown here is the final build of the prototype, demonstrating its numerous features of the project, one of which, as seen here, there are two main microcontroller boards which talk in tandem using a proprietary electronic communication system, with the second board being in charge of the light sensors, the lights themselves, while the first board is more in charge of serial communication with the device, the motor control, and handling the coin input. As shown here, there is a light sensor on each of the three targets, with the targets actuated using servo motors, while the coin slot uses a servo in order to move the coin into either the accepting bin or the rejection bin, while the light ray shown here is a portable breadboard controlled by an attached switch, which feeds back to the microcontroller.
Hello, this is the Paris or Perish Prototype 1 arcade-style target shooting game, which is completely activated by a valid game token, which we've programmed to be a 50% coin. So in the end, it is a profitable device. So I'll just run you through how the prototype works. So as you can see, it asks us to enter a game token. When we do that, 50-cent coin is valid. Press our start button. We'll then take our coin. We then can choose one of two games.
This game is Showdown. It starts once the buzzer rings. The game has started. Now you need to shoot down each robber. They're the mines of red eyes. Each one you shoot down, you gain a point for. When you shoot them all down, you gain another point. If you shoot them all down within half the time of the round, you get bonus points. However, if any of them are left at the end of the round, you lose a life, which is shown here. Currently, I still have all 3 lives. I have lost a life goes down. Now, if you do it again, and I still miss one, even if it's just one, I still lose a life. That's what is shown here. Now there's only 1 life left. Leaving it, once I lose again, the round's over, and the score will be displayed here. And the score will count up. The score can go much higher than this, but for demonstration purposes, the basics were shown.
Hello, this is my game, Sign Crossing Rush. The purpose of this game is to shoot the targets down as they appear. So I will start the game now. As you can see, all of the targets are down. Now at random intervals, targets will pop up as shown here and must be shot down with the blocker blocking the light, meaning they cannot be shot. Now, as seen here, the targets have glowing red eyes, indicating that they are valid targets, and there is a chance that when a mine pops up, it is an invalid target with no glowing eyes. Shooting such a target would lead to a reduced score. Now, this game persists for approximately. The game persists for a certain amount of time, and as you can see here, the score is being incremented up to 7, which is the final score for the game.
So once the game has been finished, as explained by my teammates, it'll come back and it'll send diagnostic data to us, which are the developers. It will send us data about the motor health, so we have a rotating motor. We should know if that is overheating at all. We also know whether a valid token or not has been entered, which then tells us how much money we've made in a day. And we can also then see which game was selected, which we then can use to develop our game further based on the most popular choice.
With the prototype completed, these are the suggested improvements that we would recommend if this project was to be improved upon for commercial availability. Firstly, reevaluate the design. Reduce the size as it is quite large in its current state. Cover components as multiple components are open for testing purposes. Use more sensitive and accurate components as there is the possibility of light affecting current results. Redesign the coin slot to take different types of coins. Use a wireless light gun as the wired version is currently a hindrance. Use a more reliable means of construction as the current one is made of cardboard and wood. Another option would be to implement more game options. Add a persistent high score so that the previous high scores can be displayed, and improve the visual aesthetic and interactivity of the device to make it more appealing.
But now for the most important part of the slide, why you should invest. The reasons for it are numerous and simple. Current arcade machines have become very expensive and difficult/impossible to repair. So by using a simpler system, it can provide a much more reliable, modifiable, and long-term solution. And as we all know, these simpler games are still fun. They provide a basic entry-level option that is sorely lacking from the modern field, which would fill a niche that has previously been left unfilled, ensuring a positive demand. The low cost of operations was mean that any purchase made gives a net return, and by furthering your development, you can produce a cheaper, more powerful, more reliable, easier to maintain model.
With that, we conclude our presentation and our demonstration of the Paris or Perish final prototype target shooting game. We thank you for your time and are available for any further questions via the email addresses shown below.